I'm Erin Spinagle, here today at East Hardy High School. Join me today as we learn about some of the teachers here at the home of the Cougars on this edition of Be the Difference, West Virginia. We're here with David Brudy. He teaches math and chemistry here at East Hardy High School. Hi David, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm well. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a 1978 graduate of Wardensville High School and graduated from Shepherd University in 1983 with a degree in math and chemistry. Basically lived here in Hardy County all my life and wanted to come back to Hardy County and teach. So I've been in this classroom, the same classroom, for 30 years now.
Wow. Did you have any children that went through this school?
No children. My wife and I have no children. I look at all the students I've had as my children, to be honest with you.
What made you decide to become a teacher?
I think the biggest thing was that I wanted to make a difference, and I think through being a teacher that you can do that. You have a lot of opportunities to help people, and at first I was kind of in the medical field. I wanted to be a doctor, but I thought becoming a teacher that I could actually have lots of doctors under me that could actually help instruct and go into the medical field, and lawyers and other teachers, and it's been a really rewarding profession for me, in that I've been able to help so many different people.
How do you get your students engaged in math and chemistry?
Well, I think a lot of them, to get them engaged, they have to be into a routine. When they come into the classroom every day, there is a bell ringer for them, so they can get started with that. And during that time, I'm able to, if I need to check any homework or anything, I can do that. And plus, I think a lot of with getting students engaged is figuring out how you can relate that to their lives. And telling stories. I like to tell stories, and they like to hear stories, most of which aren't true, but it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make a difference if they're true. They want to hear something. So a lot of times I'll make up stories of how they can use math and chemistry in real life and how it's affected my life.
As a teacher in general, what do you want your students to come away with from being in your classroom at the end of the year?
I want them to feel better about themselves. I think the whole thing about education, if you can get people to believe in themselves, that they're going to be a better product of our school system. And that's a big key with success. I think a person not only has to believe in themselves, but there has to be someone that believes in them. And just in a recent assembly here at school, I stood in front of the whole student body and said there's not a single student here that shouldn't believe in themselves and think that they're totally awesome, because you have teachers that believe in them and think that they are that.
How do you go part of the school community outside of the classroom?
Well, I think one thing that I started many, many years ago was that I started calling the parents to inform as to how their son or daughter was doing in my class. That personal contact, I think, really has made a difference through the years. And not an exact number, but probably well over 5,000 phone calls I've made, which it takes time to do it, but I enjoy doing it. And the parents really look forward to hearing me call. And very few times, probably I could count it on two hands, that I've had to call a parent about bad news. It's always been good. I can always try to come up with something that is a positive thing about their son or daughter. And also through the years, I think it's been about 20 years I've been sending birthday cards to my students, and 2,500 in excess of that. And within that birthday card, it's kind of scripted in that, I hope your birthday is extra special and it's a pleasure to have you in class. And I really believe that you can score this on the West test. And almost all of them I put in there. Of course, it's always mastery, above mastery, distinguished, because partial mastery is not part of the scale that we're concerned with. And they'll come in and they'll say, I really think that I can do that. And a lot of times I'll put problems in their birthday card and say, what is he doing putting problems in there, or whatever. So that's one way that I've been able to stay in contact with the community and let them know that we as teachers, that we really care about them and they are part of our family. There was a time, I have to bring this back, that I had a young man that came in and he'd received a birthday card from me. And of all the cards I sent, it's all worthwhile, in that he said it was the only birthday card that I received. But my parents didn't even realize it was my birthday. They'd forgotten. And I still see that person to this day, and he reminds me of that. Of that one card that he received. So that card made a difference in his life, that somebody really cared. So
give me an example of like a lesson that you do in math or in chemistry that your students really enjoy or has really sparked their interest in that subject.
This is kind of crazy, and this is probably no one in the state does this actually. And fractions seem to be something that students do not like. I don't know, for whatever reason, we would get them as freshmen or sophomore, and fractions were not their friends. And they said, no, we're not. But anyway, I do this one activity that they love every year. We do it, some of them do it 3 or 4 times while they're here, actually. And it's scoring deer antlers. And they can relate to that in that a lot of them are hunters. And so I bring in all these different sets of deer antlers ranging from scores from 80 to 140. And of course, you have to use a tape measure, and there is a method for doing this. And this is right prior to deer season. They go out hunting. I said, I want you to come back and tell me that you killed an 8-point buck. I want to know what it scored. So this is probably one activity that they look forward to every year. They hear other students talk about it and everything. So that's something they can relate to this area, which is supposed to be one of the, a lot of deer hunting that goes on here in that area.
How do you help students see the relevance of math or chemistry to their own lives?
I think, again, there it comes through the stories that I've been able to give them, is how they can use math in just about every field that they go into. Just today we were covering doing chemical reactions, and I asked them, how many students here are going into any type of medical field? And about 5 or 6 raised their hand. And I said, you're going to have to be able to balance and complete reactions if you plan on going into that field. So I think our students are really, really aware of what they need to be able to do at the high school level in order to be able to succeed at the next.
Well, what is a misconception about the education profession that you wish you could clear up with the public?
I think a lot of people actually think that this is an 8 to 3:30 job. And just today, for instance, I explained to the students, I put 23 on the board. And they said, oh, that's Michael Jordan's number. I said, no. I said, on an average week outside of school, I spend 23 hours working every week, trying to best prepare, my lessons and things that will help assess them so that they become productive citizens. So I think a lot of people say, well, you got a day off today. And a lot of times on the snow days and that, I'm doing something that's concerned with school. So it's not the job that a lot of people think. They think it's easy. I'd like to have your job. I've worked on a farm. I've worked in the woods. I've done some of the toughest physical labor out there. This is the most draining job that I've ever had. Not physically, but mentally. So it's a tough job, and people just need to know how tough it is and appreciate what the teachers do.
We're here with Mike Funkhouser. He is a former English teacher of grades 9, 11, and AP Literature here at East Hardy High School. He is now an instructional coach here at the school and is the 2013 West Virginia Teacher of the Year. Hi Mike, how are you doing?
Fine, I'm fine.
Well, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I started teaching in 1981 at Wardensville. I was the 1975 graduate of Wardensville High School, WVU. Came back home, began teaching in 81, moved to this school in 1984, and taught English 9 and 11 and AP Literature for 30 years, 29 years.
Did your children go through this school?
I had a son and a daughter both who graduated this school. I had them both in class, and that was a good experience. They always wanted to have a little distance between themselves and their dad in class. So I was even to the point that if they needed my attention, I was Mr. Funkhouser, because they didn't want anyone to think they were getting any special favors.
Do you have the other family members within the school system?
I do indeed. I actually have a sister who's teaching at the middle school at this time. I had her as a student. Had a couple nieces and nephews. I have several cousins who are in this school and in the middle school. So I've had family practically the whole time I've been here. And I married the band director. We actually had our first date was set up in the room next door. I was a substitute teacher and she was a full-time teacher, and she asked me to take her to the prom, and she asked me in front of 24 kids, so it was pretty difficult for me not to say yes, but I was planning to say yes anyway. And that was a good experience. Ann and I were ridden to work together, raised our kids in the school system together, worked with a lot of other people's kids, so that's been a joy.
Well, what made you decide to become a teacher?
Well, my dad was on the Board of Education for 38 years or 36 years, some ridiculous amount of time. And when I graduated high school, he kept saying, don't be a teacher, you won't make any money. And I looked at several different things, and I finally was floundering a little bit in school, and I thought, okay, the thing I've always wanted to do is be a teacher. I wanted to be a teacher, I wanted to coach, and so I thought if I'm going to be successful at college, then I'm going to have to do the thing that's my passion. and so I went into education, and I've never been sorry.
Your favorite moments or your favorite memories from teaching English over the years?
Well, I've enjoyed the kids, the relationship, loved teaching Shakespeare, loved teaching them things that they thought they wouldn't like, and then later on have them come back and say, you know, that really wasn't so bad, or I actually really enjoyed that. I loved trying to make language relevant for them, so I loved taking poetry or music that they liked and then teaching it to them as poetry, helping them to understand that these songwriters were actually using poetry technique to do their work, teaching it that way.
2013 West Virginia Teacher of the Year. Tell me about some of your experiences that you had throughout the state and throughout the country in that capacity.
I would be glad to do that. I was shocked to be the 2013 Teacher of the Year, and I say that I'm not being overly humble. I felt like I had a good career teaching at this school, but not at the level to be the Teacher of the Year. I don't think anybody sets out to be the Teacher of the Year in their career. To have my dad with me the day that I was named Teacher of the Year, and there was no moment like that. Of course, meeting the president, relationships that I've developed with Teachers of the Year from other states, that was a great part of it. Sharing the journey with my wife, taking her with me on all the different trips, and traveling within the state, meeting people across the state. All those were just wonderful benefits. The other was what happened at this school and what happened in our church family. That the attention that it brought to this school for the work that the people at this school have done and the kids at this school have done over the years, that was a joy for me to share that with these folks.
Well, how are you involved in the community outside of the traditional school day?
Well, that was always a big issue in our family. My father was probably one of the preeminent community servants in this community. And I don't do nearly as much as he did, but I've tried to pick up some of the things along the way. And I've been a member of the Lions Club since I was in my early 20s, served as president once. I've served on the town council for about 25 years and served in various other positions, and then received the call to ministry about 11 years ago, and for the last almost 10 years have been a minister in United Methodist Church, which also keeps me busy outside of the school day.
One thing that you wish the public understood about the education profession?
Well, I think sometimes, first off, I don't think they have any clue how much work is involved in being a good school teacher. And I know that the people around here in our community were somewhat frustrated with the number of snow days that we had. And just looking at the teachers and going, well, look at all those days they got off. And a lot of teachers work on those days. They work from home. It's not rare to come to this school on a snow day and find 5 or 6 people in this building. And I've been here and found people, they come to, and they do the work that has to be done sometimes. And I'm not sure people understand that. And also I don't know that people always value the relationships that teachers have. I had a message last night from a young man who graduated in the early 90s, 1992 I think. He's 19 months sober, and he wanted me to know that, and I sent him back a message and said, great job, glad for you. And then he messages back and he said, you and your wife were my heroes. And those kind of relationships are they're just critical. And there are kids this is where they learn how to live their lives, is within the walls of these schools. They learn from these people who sit in these classrooms. They learn so much more than algebra and grammar.
That's all for this edition of Be the Difference West Virginia. Join me next time as we learn more about the teachers here in beautiful Hardin County. Until then, I'm Erin Spinagle, reminding you to be different, but more importantly, be the difference. I'll see you soon.